Chapter 126. She had to persuade her grandfather to abandon the idea of marrying her off to the hills. Herman looked puzzled and asked, "What do you mean?" Without considering her parents' worry for her, Hera immediately recounted how she and Scotty were kidnapped by Crow. Upon hearing this, Herman expressed disbelief. "Are you saying they wanted to kill Scotty? That seems improbable, right?" Hera asserted confidently. "It's absolutely true. Hunter himself admitted it. If Nash hadn't arrived in time to save us, consequences would have been unimaginable." "Grandpa," Helena initially wanted to interject. However, she remembered that Crow from Causeway Bay had indeed died. Nash had saved Hera and Scotty. Therefore, Nash must have been the one who killed Crow. Helena looked at Nash, who was looking back at her calmly. "What is it?" Herman heard Helena calling him and turned his head to ask. Helena shook her head. "No, nothing. Nash killed Crow." That meant he had offended Howard of the Green Bamboo Association. The Lanes surely would not let Nash off the hook. Thinking of this, a faint smile appeared on Helena's face. "Since the hills aren't suitable, then reject their betrothal gifts," Herman said calmly. "However, you must be careful since Baroque is still involved in small collaborations with the hills. If this matter becomes a hindrance to Drake Group's orders, the loss will outweigh the gain." Hearing Herman's words, a happy smile appeared on the faces of Hera's family. After the dinner ended, everyone went back to their own rooms. Maria arranged a guest room for Nash. Hera and Nash could only chat via their phones. In Hasper's study in Hills Estate, the old man slammed his hand on the desk fiercely. "This is absolutely outrageous. I was only away from Johnford for 1 day and such a thing had happened. Do the Lees think nothing of us?" Hasper was away on a business trip yesterday and did not return until this afternoon. As soon as he got home, he heard that Hunter had been beaten up and had 3 ribs broken. Jeffrey sighed. "The Lees have the skies and the warden backing them. I'm afraid even the Watsons can't do anything about them." As soon as Hunter was admitted to the hospital yesterday, he received a call from the hospital. Upon learning that it was the Lees who attacked, he did not dare to lose his temper one bit. Haspard said coldly, "This is all caused by Hera Lewis. I get that we don't dare to offend the Lees, but can't we do something about the Lewises?" Jeffrey bitterly laughed and said, "Helena Lewis' boyfriend is Sky Watson, and Baroque, Hera's family's company, just signed a huge $300 million project with Drake Group." Hearing this, Haspard slammed his fist onto the desk. In this case, they truly did not have the guts to lay a finger on the Lewises. Jeffrey sighed. "We should ask Hunt to give up on Hera, or it'll eventually backfire." Although he also wanted to avenge his son, the Lewises' backing was too strong, and he was powerless. Haspard closed his eyes and thought for a while. He then slowly opened his mouth. "I heard from Hunt that Hera has a boyfriend now." "Who is that man?" Jeffrey thought for a while and said, "I heard that he seems to be from the mountains." Haspard sneered. "I refuse to believe that my grandson can compete with a hillbilly." The Hills, after all, had a net worth of $1.5 billion. Hunter was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. How could he be inferior to a wild boy from the mountains? Jeffrey discerned his father's intention from his words and anxiously said, "Dad, don't be stubborn anymore. There are many good women in the world. We can easily arrange a marriage for Hunt." "All right. It's getting late. Go and get some rest." Haspard waved his hand without intending to converse much more with Jeffrey. If the father would not spoil his own son, he, as the grandfather, absolutely had to. Jeffrey helplessly shook his head and then left the old man's study. Meanwhile, Haspard took out his phone to start making a call. In the Lanes household, Howard was also sitting in his own study, sulking. "Grandpa, that guy called Nash isn't so easy to deal with, right?" Simon had his hands in his pockets, his face incredibly gloomy. He was currently the leader of the 9th branch of the Green Bamboo Association. With Crow around, he could completely ignore the affairs of Causeway Bay. However, now that Crow was dead, Causeway Bay was in chaos. He wanted to take down Nash to avenge Crow but was stopped by his grandfather. Nash has extraordinary medical skills. He first healed Walter Watson's wife, then cured Felix King. The Lees, Zachariah, and the National Association of Priests all show him the utmost respect. His network has already exceeded my imagination. What's even more outrageous is that he practices the path and has terrifying martial arts skills. Howard pinched his nose bridge, feeling a sense of deep powerlessness welling up within him. Simon said in a low voice, "Doesn't the Green Bamboo Association have the 10 juggernauts? Perhaps we could ask them to make a move." The Green Bamboo Association had 10 juggernauts. Any one of them was an invincible existence. These 10 people were the fundamental foundation of the Green Bamboo Association. However, only the chief head of the association had the authority to mobilize these 10 juggernauts. Howard fell silent for a moment before slowly saying, "It seems like that's the only way. I once took a knife for the head of the association, and he promised me a favor." The next day, Hira brought Nash to the company early in the morning. Just as they arrived at the entrance of the company, Hira noticed that the security guards in the security room had been replaced. Originally, there were 2 men in their 50s, but now they were replaced by 2 young men in their 20s. Hira turned her head to look at Nash. "Did you do this?" Nash shook his head and said, "No, and I've never seen these 2 men before." "Good morning, Miss Lewis, Mr. Calcraft." The 2 security guards saw the CEO and security manager outside and hurriedly came out to greet them. Hira frowned and asked, "What's going on here?" "Miss Lewis, we were transferred here from the headquarters. Why don't I know about this?" Hira took out her phone and called her mother. "Mom, why did you replace the security guards at my company?" "Yes, I did. I replaced them to block you." "Block me?" Hira thought she had misheard. "Your father and I discussed it. Today is your birthday, after all, so we want to give you the day off. If we had told you in advance, you definitely wouldn't have agreed. So we simply had the security guards block you outside. But I have several meetings today. I've arranged everything for you. I'm heading to the company now. Gotta go." Lauren quickly hung up the phone. Hira shook her head helplessly, then walked straight toward the gate. The security guards stretched out their hands to block her. "Miss Lewis, Miss Mayor said not to let you in today. Get out of my way." Hira spoke with a cold expression. "Miss Lewis, please don't make this difficult for us." "Yeah, Miss Lewis, Miss Mayor has issued strict orders. If we let you in, we won't receive a penny of our salary this month." The 2 security guards sounded like they were about to cry. Hira held her forehead with one hand and said to Nash, "You pull them aside." Nash touched his nose, smiling as he said, "They're having a hard time as well. Let's just let it go." After all, Lauren and Harrison had already informed him about this matter. Hira glared at Nash and said, "Did you all conspire this together?" At that moment, Lauren drove up in a white Audi. Dressed in a white professional outfit, she stepped out of the car and said, "You guys came here so early. You must have skipped breakfast, right?" Harrison, with slicked back hair and dark circles under his eyes, also got out of the car. He handed a brand new LV bag to Hira. "This is the birthday gift I prepared for you." Hira's eyes widened at the sight of the bag. "Oh my God, Dad. How did you know I like this bag?" This was the year's latest style, adorned with masterful handcrafted decorations. It was priced at over $40,000. She really liked this bag, but she had never thought of buying such an expensive one. Lauren took out a bunch of membership cards from her bag. "These are the membership cards your father and I got from various shopping malls and entertainment venues in Johnford. You 2 should go out and have fun today. Consider it a date." She then winked at Nash. "I'm entrusting my daughter to you. Make sure she has an unforgettable birthday." Nash laughed and nodded. "Don't worry, Lauren. I'll take good care of Hira today." Hira, touched and blushing from this, coquettishly complained, "Mom, you guys, knowing my birthday has been postponed, you still bought me gifts. What will you do for my actual birthday party?" "Nothing." Harrison laughed and said, "You guys go and have fun. Your mother and I need to go to a meeting." With that, he took Lauren's hand and headed toward the company. Nash walked over to the Maserati, opened the door, and made a gentlemanly gesture. "Get in the car, my princess." "Where did you learn that from?" Hira's face was flushed, but she felt sweet inside. "Of course, I learned it from you. Have you forgotten?" Nash grinned as he got into the driver's seat. He started the engine and asked, "Where do you want to go?" Just then, A taxi stopped in front of the Maserati. After Scotty got out of the taxi and paid the driver, she walked over to the passenger seat of their car and said, "You guys are going out and you're not taking me with you." Nash's smile froze. What was Scotty doing here? Was she going to be a third wheel? "I was just about to call you." Hera happily got out of the car and joined Scotty in the back seat. Nash sighed in disappointment. Hera had never been in a relationship or gone out on a date, so she did not pay attention to these things. After she got into the passenger seat earlier, Hera really intended to call Scotty and ask her if she wanted to join them. The two of them were flipping through Lauren's membership cards in the back seat. Scotty took out one that had two boxers printed on it and said, "Didn't you want to watch a boxing match? This card is a diamond membership for the Dragonmite International Boxing Center. We can get tickets at a 70% discount." Hera looked at Nash cautiously. "Nash, can we go watch a boxing match?" Nash made a face. "What's there to watch?" "It's just shadowboxing," Scotty excitedly said. "Today's the weekend, so there are several women's boxing matches. International boxing competition, it won't hurt to watch." Nash quietly entered Dragonmite Boxing Center into the navigation and then drove away. As they passed by a breakfast chain store, Scotty took out a membership card, intending to take the two of them to eat breakfast first. After breakfast, the three of them bought tickets and entered the Dragonmite Boxing Center. Chapter 130. The Dragonmite Boxing Center is an enterprise invested by Johnford's wealthiest man, Walter Watson. The boxing center held two competitions annually, which are the Men's Boxing Tiger Crown Championship and the Women's Boxing Phoenix Crown Championship. The Tiger and Phoenix crowns are crafted from 5 kilograms of pure gold and embedded with 9 diamonds. They're valued at around 700 grand. Additionally, there's a cash prize of 500 grand. That's how each competition attracts boxers from all over the country to participate. Scotty was informing Nash and Hera about the Dragonmite Boxing Center. In her eyes, there was a mixture of envy and excitement. Hera held onto Scotty's arm and asked gently, "Didn't you train in boxing for a while? Why didn't you sign up?" With a slight smile, Nash said, "If a martial arts champion like you were to participate in this Phoenix Crown Championship, the Phoenix Crown would undoubtedly belong to you, right?" Scotty detected the teasing in Nash's words. After frowning and glaring at Nash, she explained, "Boxing and martial arts are completely different. As a Draconio and with my grandfather being in the Martial Arts Association, I have to promote Draconio's martial arts." She had indeed trained in boxing for a while, but after 8 months, she was just barely considered an amateur boxer. She could not even last a round when sparring with her best friend. Worried that Scotty would stray off the path, Zacharias strictly forbade her from continuing with her boxing aspirations. The three arrived at the elevator. 2 stunningly beautiful women outside helped press the elevator button for them. "Welcome, Benvenida." The Dragonmite Boxing Center was an international boxing gym, and the 2 beauties greeted them in 2 languages. Then, the elevator doors opened, revealing a tall, cold, beautiful woman inside. She was dressed in a black trench coat, her jet black hair reaching her waist and tied at the back of her head with a rubber band. She was also wearing tight jeans and knee-high boots. The woman's hands were tucked into her coat pocket, and on her left and right stood 2 tall, dark-skinned men. The 2 muscular men were tall and dark-skinned, their arms thicker than the average person's thighs, with their shoulders high and bulging with explosive muscle power. The elevator was large enough to accommodate 6 people side by side, but when these 3 stood side by side, there was no room left for anyone else. The strong oppressive feeling caused people outside the elevator to take a few steps back. Meanwhile, Scotty's eyes lit up. "Bianca, what a coincidence!" The woman in the elevator was none other than her best friend, Bianca Lawson. 3 years ago, Bianca had participated in the Phoenix Crown Championship while still in university. She made it to the semi-finals. This was Bianca's 2nd time participating in the Phoenix Crown Championship, and it was also the final match. As long as she could win this, she would be the owner of the Phoenix Crown. Upon hearing Scotty's voice, Bianca slightly lifted her eyes, which were as cold as blades. Her icy expression softened slightly. "Skate, Why are you here? Scotty smiled and said, Hera and I came specifically to watch your match. Upon hearing this, Bianca looked at Hera, who was standing with Nash. Miss Lewis, long time no see. Hera nervously said, hello, Miss Bianca. You actually remember me. She had met Bianca a few times at the parties Scotty had thrown. Bianca was a rising star in Johnford's women's boxing scene with a large number of fans. Hera barely even had a chance to say hello. She did not expect that Bianca would remember her. Scotty laughed and said, You're my best friend. And Bianca is also my best friend. Of course. She remembers you. After speaking, she immediately introduced Nash to Bianca. Bianca, this is Hera's fiancé, Nash Calcraft. Are you people going down or not? It seemed that someone outside was getting impatient and asked with a frown. The two dark-skinned bodyguards in the elevator looked at the person. The man's legs went weak under their gazes, and he kept swallowing his saliva. Scotty laughed and said, Let's go down first and talk later. The three entered the elevator and arrived at the basement level 9. Outside, a group of female fans immediately raised their phones to take photos of Bianca. Even media and TV reporters came forward for interviews. Chapter 131. Bianca's two bodyguards stepped forward, their powerful auras making everyone dare not overstep their boundaries. At this time, a group of middle-aged men in suits quickly approached. They were Bianca's coach and agent. The rest were boxers from the club who stood on both sides, blocking all enthusiastic fans and reporters. Bianca looked at Scotty and said, I'll look for you guys after the match. Scotty nodded firmly. Good luck, Bianca. You'll definitely win the championship. Bianca showed a slight smile at the corner of her mouth and then quickly left with her manager and coach. The crowd at the elevator was so large that Hera anxiously clung to Nash's sleeve. Just then, a middle-aged man suddenly fell toward Hera. Nash kindly supported him from behind. The man turned around, and his face instantly darkened. Nash smiled and asked, Are you all right? The man said nothing and walked away. Hera was confused. Why was he like that? Can he even say thank you? Nash just smiled and said nothing. The middle-aged man had stage 5 inner energy, and an ordinary person could not have knocked him down, unless he willingly fell down. The three of them followed the crowd toward the ring. There were 2 tiers of auditorium around the arena. The first floor was general admission and the second floor was VIP seats. The 2,000 seats on the first floor were all occupied, with a few benches added at the front. Each bench could squeeze only 6 people. The second floor VIP area only had 500 seats, and the ticket prices were 3 times that of the first floor. There was a huge 4-sided display above the ring for broadcasting the match live. Nash, Scotty, and Hera sat in the second floor VIP area. A waiter brought complimentary drinks and snacks, and Scotty and Hera also ordered popcorn and Coke. Nash merely asked for a cup of cappuccino. Hera, sitting between Nash and Scotty, asked, Skade, do you think Bianca can win? Scotty shook her head. I don't know who her opponent is yet. Let me check the forum. With that, she took out her phone and opened the boxing forum. Soon, she widened her eyes and said, Today's the final match, and Bianca's opponent is Black Widow from Freldon. Seeing Scotty's uneasy face, Hera hurriedly asked, Is Black Widow very strong? Scotty looked upset as she said, She's a 3-time holder of the Phoenix Crown, and last year, she won the golden belt of the World Women's Boxing Championship. Hearing Scotty say this, Hera also became nervous. Oh no. With such a strong opponent, it's going to be difficult for Bianca to win the championship. Opposite the VIP area, Kai and Helena were sitting together. In front of them were Simon Lanes and Duncan Dorson. Simon smiled slightly. Mr. Kai, Black Widow has made your family a lot of money. Gold rarely depreciates, and with 3 consecutive Phoenix Crowns, that's 3.6 million. Duncan lifted his wine glass, took a sip of red wine very elegantly, and said with a slight smile, The products endorsed by Black Widow are all the Watsons brands, and the Watsons advertising fees for Black Widow are more than 3.6 million. Hearing these words, Simon's face turned somewhat awkward. He spent all day mixing with people from the Green Bamboo Association and hardly ever got involved in business matters. He had overlooked this point. How could the Watsons have gotten to where they were today by making unprofitable deals? Just then, Helena suddenly spotted Nash and the others sitting across from them. She immediately frowned. Kai, look, Nash and the others are here too. Chapter 132. Kai glanced sideways, his previously languid expression instantly becoming somber. Remembering his grandfather's warning, he slowly suppressed the anger in his heart. Not only his grandfather, but also the two grandmasters in his family had warned him. Nash was not someone they could afford to provoke. If it was just his grandfather warning him, he could put it aside, considering that Nash had healed his grandmother and was thus regarded as a benefactor of the Watsons by his grandfather. However, the fact that both George and Jensen said the same thing indicated that Nash's martial arts strength had exceeded his imagination. At the very least, George and Jensen combined were still no match for Nash. Kai took a hefty swig from the glass on the table. Duncan also glanced at Nash across the room, then softly chuckled and said, "So that guy is Nash. I heard that Crow, Mr. Lane's confidant, had his head blown off by him. I wonder if it's true." The Dursons and the Watsons had a tight business partnership. Duncan had gained some information from Kai's expression. Kai hated Nash but was unable to take action, so he planned to use Simon to deal with Nash. It did happen, but rest assured, this kid won't be arrogant for long. My grandfather has hired the 10 juggernauts from the Green Bamboo Association. Simon's face showed a confident smile. Duncan's pupils contracted slightly, and he immediately filled Simon's glass with the 1982 Shadow Law fight. "Simon, I heard that each of the 10 juggernauts has the strength of a Stage 9 Grandmaster. Is this true?" Duncan changed his tone with the mention of the Green Bamboo Association's 10 juggernauts, his face filled with flattery. Simon faintly smiled. "Of course it's true. The Green Bamboo Association has developed to its current scale because of the 10 juggernauts' presence." Kai raised his glass, saying, "If Nash Calcraft dies, we'll be brothers in the future." Simon solemnly raised his glass to clink with Kai. "Mr. Kai, rest assured, Nash is dead for sure." Kai's mouth curled into a smile, and he drank the alcohol in the glass in one gulp. Helena also slowly picked up her glass and took a sip. As if remembering something, Helena suddenly said, "By the way, Black Widow's opponent today is Bianca, who's Scotty's good friend. She shouldn't be able to win, right?" She hated everyone related to Hera. Bianca was Scotty's best friend, and Scotty was Hera's best friend. Hence, she did not want to see Bianca win the championship. Hearing this, Kai's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Duncan's expression also underwent some changes. Helena noticed this and carefully asked, "Kai, what's wrong?" Duncan said, "Kai and I have opened several poker companies in Mandagore, and as of half an hour ago, the amount of money betting on Black Widow's victory has exceeded 4 billion. Helena was somewhat confused. And then what? Kai said coldly, "In this match, we'll make Bianca Lawson win." The Watsons had been sowing this plan for 3 years. Black Widow had earned nearly 70 million in endorsement fees for the Watsons over these 3 years. She also brought the Watsons nearly $1.5 billion in profit. Nonetheless, all of that was not important. The most important thing was today's boxing match. Black Widow would receive a whopping $50 million bonus, and she would lose the match today and fall from her pedestal. Then, the Watsons and the Dursons would earn 4 billion. Helena puffed out her cheeks. "Then just go according to your plan. Making money is more important." $4 billion. That was money her Rococo could not earn in 10 lifetimes. Chapter 133. Meanwhile, in the hands of the Watsons and the Dursons, all it took was one boxing match. Helena could not let Kai miss out on earning 4 billion for her sake. Kai looked grim and said, "If Nash and the others want to see Bianca win, I can't fulfill their wishes. I can't take action against them, but I can use money to play them to death." Hearing this, Duncan's expression changed drastically. "Kai, this is 4 billion we're talking about," Kai said nonchalantly. No amount of money can buy a good mood. Duncan quickly thought of a solution that would make everyone happy. A cunning smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Kai, I've thought of a solution. As the time for the match approached, a host dressed in a tailcoat walked onto the stage, followed by a sexy blonde bombshell holding a tray. On it was a crown worth 700 grand. Welcome everyone to the Dragon Might Boxing Center. This is the National Women's Boxing Phoenix Crown Championship, sponsored exclusively by the Watsons. After the previous rounds of advancement and elimination, Bianca, the boxer from Draconio Jauntford Club, has fought her way to the finals with 9 consecutive victories. The dark horse Bianca will challenge the reigning champion Black Widow. The final winner will receive the 9th Phoenix Crown from the Dragon Might Boxing Center, plus a cash prize of 500 grand. Under the spotlight, the crown sparkled, and the diamonds on it emitted brilliant light. The spectators at the venue were all boxing enthusiasts. The host's impassioned speech instantly ignited the atmosphere of the venue. Everyone applauded and looked forward to the upcoming exciting match. And now, please welcome, from Draconio's Jauntford Neo Power Boxing Club, the rising star of the boxing world, Bianca Lawson, the host announced. The spotlight immediately focused on Bianca, who was dressed in boxing gear. She was wearing a red boxing suit and red boxing gloves. At the moment, she was warming up in place. Bianca, come on, Bianca, let's go. Some of Bianca's fans shouted loudly. Scotty leaned on the railing, shouting with both hands around her mouth. Bianca, come on, let's do this. At this time, Hira also stood up excitedly and cheered for Bianca together with Scotty. Nash was calmly drinking his cappuccino, not even bothering to glance at the arena. He had seen plenty of international boxing championships. As for this Phoenix Crown Championship, although it was nationwide, it had not received international recognition. These boxing matches were mostly commercial tactics of the family behind the Dragon Might Boxing Center. Whether it was Black Widow or Bianca who won, the place would gain a lot of traffic, and both Black Widow's and Bianca's value would increase. Then, the powerhouse behind the Dragon Might Boxing Center would surely have the champion sign some advertising agreements. The boxing champion was just a tool for capitalists to make money. Below the stage, Bianca and her coach bumped fists. Then she jumped onto the platform with her long, slender legs. The spotlight was all on Bianca. Her fair skin looked soft as jade, and her exposed waist did not have an ounce of fat. As Bianca stepped onto the stage, the applause and shouts from the audience grew even more intense. And now, please welcome the consecutive 3-time winner of the Phoenix Crown from the Dragon Might Boxing Center, the holder of the 2021 World Women's Boxing Championships Golden Belt, the daughter of the King of Fighters, Dark Lord, all the way from Freldon, Black Widow. Chapter 134. The host's voice broke from shouting. The applause at the scene reached an unprecedented level of enthusiasm. A curly-haired woman with dark skin who wore a black windbreaker stepped onto the ring. She stood at 1.9 meters tall, her glistening dark thighs full of muscles. Her exposed belly button and her six-pack abs were extremely prominent. Compared to Bianca, Black Widow had more fans, and their cheers and applause filled the entire arena. Then came the referee and the 10 judges. The Watsons had spent a fortune to invite these renowned individuals from various countries. Normally, they could only be seen at the World Boxing Championship. This was to ensure the fairness and impartiality of the match. It was because of their presence that the Watsons and the Doorsons poker companies had attracted a large number of bettors. The host finished his lines, and together with the blonde woman holding the tray, he descended from the ring. Bianca and Black Widow bumped fists to show respect. Black Widow was much more robust than Bianca. Her face was expressionless, and her dark eyes were filled with disdain. The referee blew the whistle before crossing his arms to the sides. The two fighters returned to the ropes of the ring, and their coaches put mouth guards into their mouths. Bianca, Black Widow's heavy punches are very terrifying. You must be careful, the coach warned seriously. Bianca nodded, then walked straight to the center of the ring. Black Widow's coach did not say anything. His eyes lacked the sparkle usually present during Black Widow's matches. Both fighters got to the middle of the ring and started to warm up on the spot. The referee checked the time. Within the scheduled time, he counted down with his fingers and blew the whistle after 3 counts. The two boxers immediately began their fight. Bianca took the initiative and launched a series of punches at Black Widow's face. Black Widow guarded her head with her fists and easily blocked Bianca's attack. Bianca threw left uppercuts one after another, generating wind with each punch, while Black Widow was dodging and defending. After some fighting, Bianca had not landed a single effective hit. A mocking smile curved up at the corner of Black Widow's mouth, and she beckoned to Bianca. Bianca bit her mouth guard hard and suddenly threw a straight punch at Black Widow's chest. Black Widow crossed her arms over her chest, and with a tilt of her head, she blocked Bianca's straight punch while avoiding the incoming left hook. Almost instantly, Black Widow landed a quick and fierce jab on Bianca's face. The punch was so fast that it could only be seen clearly in slow-motion playback. Even though they were wearing gloves, the massive force had Bianca's nose burning and her head spinning. Black Widow seized the opportunity to launch a violent attack. Left hook, right hook, straight punch, jab. Her attacks rained down on Bianca's head. Bianca used her hands to protect her head, and Black Widow proceeded to attack Bianca's abdomen and waist. At the same time, Black Widow's effective hitting score soared quickly. Soon, the score reached 0-12. Just as Black Widow was about to launch a heavy punch, the referee suddenly blew the whistle. The first round was over. Black Widow twisted her neck, panting as she sat at the edge of the ring with her hands on the ropes. A group of staff immediately massaged her arms. Then, her coach fed her a bottle of Titan drinking water, which she endorsed. It was worth nearly $300 per bottle. If it had been a previous boxing match, her coach would definitely have been over the moon. However, today, he was not happy at all. It was because they had received $50 million from the Watsons, and in today's match, Bianca would be crowned the final winner. The advantage Black Widow held in the first few rounds was just her way of giving back to her fans. Chapter 135. Scotty and her companions had already come down from the second floor to the first. As the staff were blocking the way, they could not go up to console Bianca. The coach, somewhat displeased, said, "Bianca, you have to be on guard. You gave Black Widow an opportunity by continuously attacking." Bianca took a sip of mineral water, then nodded. She had indeed been too careless earlier. She knew she should not have been off guard against Black Widow. However, in the first round, she wanted to familiarize herself as much as possible with Black Widow's power and speed. Although she had watched many of Black Widow's boxing videos and had conducted a lot of training based on those videos, training was, after all, just training. When it came time to execute, she had to get a feel for Black Widow's speed and strength herself. The coach continued, "In the next round, focus on defense, drain her energy first, and then find another opportunity when the time is almost up." Bianca kept nodding. She had taken the initiative in the first round and had consumed a lot of energy, so she had to conserve energy in the second round. The referee blew the whistle. Bianca pushed herself back and stood straight up with the help of the elastic of the rope. The two of them came to the center of the ring again. After the referee counted down to 3, Bianca and Black Widow both started to sway, defending themselves. Black Widow occasionally threw quick punches to test the waters, while Bianca went all out on defense. Bianca managed to block all 3 of Black Widow's punches. Then 2 more punches were thrown, one straight and one hook. After several punches in a row, all of them were either dodged or blocked by Bianca. Bianca's coach clenched his fist and roared, "That's how you fight. Defense first, then attack." Black Widow's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness as she continued her aggressive attacks. After a while, Bianca's fair arms were flushed from the blows. Scotty's eyes were red. "Bianca keeps getting hit. Why isn't she fighting back?" Hera held onto Nash's sleeve tightly. "Bianca can't beat Black Widow." Nash crossed his arms and said lightly, "This Black Widow girl is the daughter of the King of Fighters, Dark Lord. She started boxing when she was 3. How can she be defeated by ordinary people?" Stunned, Scotty asked, "How do you know all this?" Nash smiled. "I found the information on the internet." Hera pouted. You haven't touched your phone since we got off the car, Nash explained. When you were cheering for Bianca at the railing, I checked some information about Black Widow. That was just an excuse Nash had come up with. The reason he recognized the relationship between Black Widow and the Dark Lord was because he knew the Dark Lord well. 5 years ago, after he assassinated a steerer from the church abroad, he was severely injured. He was chased into a slum and took refuge in a down-and-out boxer's house, where he fell unconscious. Not only did the down-and-out boxer help him deal with his pursuers, but he also took him in. When Nash woke up, he learned that this boxer had been earning money to help the poor in the slums through illegal boxing. At the time, it was the height of the Dark Lord's career. Anyone who stepped into the ring with him did not stand a chance. It was a battle to the death. In the World King of Fighters Championship, only those with a golden belt could participate. The final winner would be the King of Fighters. The down-and-out boxer's dream was to compete in the World Championship. At that time, Nash was already a Stage 9 Grandmaster, and he naturally had no interest in boxing, which was a form of combat sport. In order to help the down-and-out boxer realize his dream, he used his unique talents to watch a large number of UFC match videos and various fighting techniques. Later, he practiced boxing with the down-and-out boxer and studied boxing techniques with him. Half a year later, the down-and-out boxer began to fight in regular matches. Within 3 months, he had made it to the World Championship. Nash became this down-and-out boxer's agent and coach. Then, to avoid being found by his enemies, he had to change his appearance using a disguise technique and use the alias McNash for each of the down-and-out boxer's matches. At the end of that year, the down-and-out boxer won the golden belt. Chapter 136. In the second year, the destitute boxer borrowed the gold belt and participated in the highest level of the King of Fighters Championship. At the end of the same year, he defeated the world champion, the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord also announced his retirement from boxing that year. Although 4 years had passed, Nash still remembered the name of that destitute boxer, Mike Thorson. Watching Bianca getting thrashed in the ring, Nash's memories came rushing back like a flood. He had been banned for 3 years and had never paid any attention to Mike. He had no idea how he was doing now either. They had developed the slums into an affluent area the year Mike became the boxing champion. Without the slums holding him back, he should have gone much further. Bianca? Hera called out all of a sudden, only to see her receive a punch in the face from the Black Widow. Bianca had also landed a left hook on the left side of Black Widow's face. Bianca then fell to the ground, and the round ended with the score being 113. Although she had only gotten 1 point, she was still satisfied. The Black Widow had shut down all her opponents in the past 3 Phoenix Crown competitions. Bianca breathed a sigh of relief. She then stood up and walked to the ropes at the side to cool down. While feeding Bianca water, the coach said in a low voice, "If you really can do it, then forget it. It's impressive enough that you managed to score a point from her already." Panting heavily, Bianca shook her head and responded, "I can still fight." This was the second round. She could tell that Black Widow had not gone all out yet. Even if she were to lose today, she still had to score a few more points. She could not disgrace the female boxers of Draconia. At the same time, on the opposite side, the host was whispering a few words into the ear of the foreign coach, which brought a smile to his face. He then hurried forward to relay the message to Black Widow. Black Widow slowly raised her gaze to look at Bianca. There was now disdain in her eyes. She gave a thumbs up before turning it downward as if she were deliberately inciting Bianca's anger. Bianca's arms trembled slightly as she rested them on the stage. Her arms were flushed and very obviously more swollen than before. Brows knitted together, Scotty said, "How is Bianca still going to compete with the way her arms are now?" Next to her, Hera recalled how Nash had once given her a massage to reduce the swelling in her face. She turned to Nash and said, "Nash, can't you do something about the swelling?" Nash raised a brow. "Don't tell me you want me to give her a massage?" Hera nodded. "Yes. Bianca's arms are already swollen till that point. How will she defend herself later?" Scotty also recalled Nash's heaven-defying medical skills and hurriedly added, "Yeah, Nash, You have to help her. Hera gripped Nash's big hand into her own and cooed coquettishly. Won't you do it, Nash? Won't you? Nash smiled quietly. Okay. Since you're the birthday girl today, I'll do as you say. After saying that, Nash went toward the ring. Stop! Who are you? Several boxers from the Neo Power Club immediately blocked Nash's path. They would not allow any strangers to approach Bianca while the fight was ongoing. I'm a doctor. I'm going to tend to Bianca's wound, Nash said. There's no need. We have professional doctors here. Leave quickly, or don't blame us for being rude. Chapter 137. The boxers glared at Nash cautiously with their fists clenched. Bianca heard a ruckus behind her and turned her head to look, only to see Nash already by the ring. Scotty and Hera asked me to tend to your injury. At the same time, several boxers from the club were crouched on the ground with their hands over their stomachs. Bianca frowned and asked, Coach, what happened to them? The coach turned around when he heard her question. He was about to ask what happened when Nash explained, they have diarrhea. The coach looked at Nash blankly. Who are you? Nash stood a little straighter and replied, have you ever heard of McNash? Father of the King of Fighters, McNash. The coach's eyes were twitching wildly. Of course. He had heard of him. He was the god of all boxing coaches all over the world. He was a destitute boxer who had used illegal techniques and defeated the Dark Lord when he was at his peak. Mike Thorson remembered his former coach after he rose to fame and would always mention McNash every time he was on various shows and interviews. In the world of boxing, Mike and McNash were legendary existences to boxers and boxing coaches alike. The coach looked at Nash with disdain. But what does that have to do with you? Of course, it has everything to do with me. I'm McNash, Nash replied calmly in a leisurely manner. His demeanor made him seem like some outside expert. The coach glared at Nash coldly. You'd better hurry up and fuck off or I'll throw you out myself. The moment he said that, the referee blew his whistle, signaling the third round start. When Scotty and Hera saw how Nash was being held back, they walked over hand in hand. The boxers on the ground were still reeling from the intense pain due to their stomachs and did not have the strength to stop them. The coach was furious. If you don't leave, Nash, why aren't you doing anything? Scotty interrupted the coach. When the coach saw Scotty, he raised his brow slightly and asked, Miss Zabel, are you here to watch Bianca fight? Scotty was the granddaughter of Zachariah Sinclair Zabel of the Johnford Martial Arts Association. She was also the previous Johnford Martial Arts champion. She and Bianca had a good relationship, and Scotty would often come to the club to chat with Bianca and practice boxing. This was why he was very respectful towards Scotty. Scotty did not bother dallying with the coach and immediately introduced Nash. This is my friend. He's a doctor and can help Bianca reduce the swelling in her arms. But that's not what he said just now, the coach responded wryly. Hera pursed her lips and asked, what did he say? The coach glanced at Nash and answered, he said he's the father of the King of Fighters, McNash. Hera turned and looked at him. Did you really say that? Nash nodded. Is there a problem? Nope. I believe everything you say. Hera smiled sweetly. She would not have believed him back when she first met him, but Nash had fulfilled every bombastic claim that he had made. He cured her grandfather's cancer, was familiar with the president of Drake Group, and was a Golden Amulet Master of the Martial Arts Association as well as the National Association of Priests. With all these identities already, there should be no need for him to pretend to be McNash. No? Miss Zabel, is this woman? The coach looked at Hera suspiciously. Could she be mentally ill seeing how she believed this man's claims of being McNash? She's my best friend. Hera, she's the second lady of the Lewis family and the president of Baroque Group. Scotty introduced with a cold expression. McNash was the coach of the King of Fighters, Mike Thorson. He was already 70 years old 4 years ago. The coach looked at Nash with disdain as if he wanted to expose him thoroughly. Scotty and Hera no longer bothered paying any attention to the coach and were already looking at the fight going on in the ring. Nash put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, Bianca won't get a single point this round. Chapter 138. The coach looked toward the ring as well. A moment passed, and he sneered before saying, I taught Bianca a tactic. Defend first and then attack. It's not wise to waste energy before finding an opening. Your tactic is for them to wait and get beaten. If Black Widow goes all out, Bianca won't be able to fight the third round at all. Nash's expression may be blank, but his words dripped with sarcasm. The coach shook his head and scoffed. I can't believe I actually went dumb and talked to an idiot. I have to correct you there. You're indeed dumb. But I'm not stupid. Nash responded blankly. The coach was too lazy to continue talking to this guy who was calling himself McNash. He was trying to show off even when he had no skills. The third round ended with Bianca not even scoring 1 point, while Black Widow had reached 32 points in total. She scored 19 points in just 1 round. Bianca had also been beaten until her nose was bruised and her face swollen. The referee came over and started speaking in a foreign language. He was probably trying to ask if she could still continue. Bianca panted heavily and nodded. The referee looked at the doctor on duty, and they immediately stepped forward to check Bianca's physical condition. They then gave an okay sign. The winner will be determined in 6 rounds for this match. There'll be a 30-minute intermission. So after 30 minutes, we'll have another 3 rounds for the second half, the referee said in a broken attempt at their language. Bianca nodded again. The referee went up to Black Widow and announced to her that it was break time while the host went to the ring to replay the first 3 rounds. The coach led Bianca and others back to the waiting room. Scotty immediately fetched a hot towel and applied it on Bianca's face. Nash sat down on a chair and massaged Bianca's arms. Bianca clenched her fists and looked at Hera with some embarrassment. This man was Hera's boyfriend after all. It was somewhat embarrassing for someone else's boyfriend to give her a massage. Hera did not mind it too much. It's okay, Bianca. He has a really good massage technique. Not only can it help you relieve pain, but it'll also reduce the swelling. Nash possessed extraordinary skills in holistic medicine. Pulse taking and dry needling were part of the practice. It was inevitable that there would be skin-on-skin contact, especially when the patient was a woman. She could not be jealous of something like this, or it would make her a very narrow-minded person. Nash massaged Bianca's arms with his inner energy, and gradually, the redness and swelling eased. Before Bianca even had the chance to be surprised, Nash said, "Black Widow went easy on you the first 3 rounds. If she had gone all out, you might not have been able to get back up after the first round at all." When the coach heard Nash bring this topic up again, he immediately reprimanded him. "Kid, I've tolerated you long enough. Stop trying to delude people with your lies." Scotty frowned. "Can you shut up?" He dared yell at Nash even though he was just a small boxing coach. Who did he think he was? The coach wanted to say something else, but Bianca interjected. "Coach Grant, let him speak." She only started learning about Black Widow's fighting power in the 3rd round, so what Nash said was not untrue at all. Black Widow did really go easy on her in the first 2 rounds. Coach Grant was furious. This kid doesn't know shit. What's the use of listening to his nonsense? Saying that, he immediately took off his coaching ID and threw it onto the table. "I resign. Don't come looking for me in the future." Bianca had hired him using a lot of money. He would threaten her with his resignation every time he felt like he was wronged. Sure enough, Bianca's expression shifted when she saw what he did. Chapter 139. Coach Grant noticed Bianca's reluctance and said haughtily, "You either kick him out or I'll leave." Scotty could no longer stand this. She stood up, pointed to the door, and said, "Go. Get the fuck out. I'll break your legs if you dally here any longer." Coach Grant ignored Scotty and just looked at Bianca, asking, "Is this what you want too?" Bianca sighed. "You probably don't know it yet, but the Zabel family is the one who invested and started the Neo Power Club." Coach Grant understood what Bianca was saying and snorted coldly before turning around to leave. Seeing this, the other boxers looked at each other in dismay. Yet, none of them dared say anything. Nash looked at one of the boxers. "Lend me your gloves." The boxer hesitated for a moment before he took the gloves off his neck and passed them to Nash. Nash took off his coat and put on his gloves. He then walked to an open space. "The fact that you were able to win 9 consecutive victories shows that you have pretty impressive speed and power. In fact, You shouldn't have been beaten so badly. You're afraid of Black Widow because she won the Phoenix Crown 3 times. She also won the World Boxing Champion Golden Belt, which is why you're afraid of her. If you want to defeat her, you must overcome your fear. Secondly, there are many weak points to your boxing. In all 3 rounds, you strapped Black Widow's head 350 times, but none of them landed. All 72 of your strikes to her abdomen also failed. You used combination punches 78 times and did not even manage to hit her arm once. If you were in the boxing championship with your current ability, you'd be eliminated in the first round. Nash droned on for a long time, and Bianca and Scotty were dumbfounded. What shocked Scotty was that Nash actually managed to remember how many punches Bianca delivered. Bianca, on the other hand, was shocked by the fact that Nash had managed to see through her fear of Black Widow. He was absolutely right. She had not been able to sleep since last night. As long as her eyes were closed, she would see the image of Black Widow accepting the award on stage. She really had no idea how to defeat this boxing champion. Nash took a deep breath and got into a standard boxing stance. He was facing Bianca and staring straight at her. His left arm was in front of his right, while his left fist was also positioned slightly higher than his shoulder. This was a perfect defensive position. I'll deliver a set of combination punches next. Commit them to memory if you can, and you may find some room for maneuvering in the second half. After Nash said that, he walked up to the dummy to the side. It was made of silicone and was used by boxers for training during their extended breaks. Nash focused his breathing before executing a quick set of combination punches. While his right hand was positioned for protection, he lunged his left toward the head, pulling back the left. It was then used for protection before he feinted an attack with his right fist. Just when he threw his right fist out, however, he pulled it back for protection before striking with his left fist at lightning speed. Nash's punches were quick, and each of them sounded like he was breaking through the air. After he was done with the first set of combination punches, he then followed them up with a set of short punch combinations. Finally, he performed a comprehensive set of combination punches. There were more feints in the comprehensive set, which allowed one to obtain more points from their strikes by catching opponents off guard. It took Nash 10 minutes to complete the 3 sets of combination punches. He then looked at Bianca without even breaking a sweat and asked, "Can you remember them?" Bianca nodded lightly. "Got them." Nash was surprised. "Did you get all of it?" Bianca nodded again. Nash took off his gloves and placed them on the dummy before saying, "Come here, let's try it out." Bianca put on her gloves and went toward Nash. At this moment, Scotty walked up to Hera with her phone in hand as she said in a panicked voice, "Nash is the personal trainer of the King of Fighters, Mike Thorson. Could Nash actually be the father of the King of Fighters?" Chapter 140. Mike Thorson, the world-class King of Fighters. For 4 consecutive years, he was undefeated, securing numerous championship belts and awards with overwhelming success. His endorsement fee for advertisements also ran up in billions. He then entered the entertainment industry 2 years ago and made it to Hollywood, where he won an Academy Award and was selected to be one of the most influential actors in Hollywood by the judges for 2 consecutive years. Mike's achievements today were inseparable from his personal trainer, Nash. Scotty found it hard to believe when Nash said he was Nash. It doesn't matter if he's Nash or not. If he says he is, then I believe him. Hera nodded resolutely. She did not believe that Nash would lie to her. There was no need for him to do so either. He would still be her fiancé even if he did not have all these titles. Scotty felt Hera's forehead. "Hera, did Nash brainwash you or something? Nash is almost 80 years old. We don't even know if he's still alive or not. Besides, how old was Nash 4 or 5 years ago?" She really could not connect Nash with Nash. "Then, do you believe him?" Hera asked with a smile. "I should." Scotty recalled the assassin she encountered at the Lee's residence before. The assassin had managed to disguise himself as Mr. Lee, and even his family did not notice that he was a fake. Perhaps Nash also had the ability to disguise himself like that? At the moment, Bianca was delivering punch after punch into the focus pad on Nash's right hand. "That's not hard enough. Put everything into it. Nash said sternly while his right hand remained motionless as if it were frozen with the focus pad. Bianca exerted her entire strength into the focus pad through the combination punches that Nash had shown her just now. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, his right hand remained unmoved. A storm began brewing in Bianca's chest. Although the power behind her own fists was not comparable to Black Widow's, she still could deliver about 400 pounds with each punch she delivered. Even the gold medal coach she had hired before did not dare let her use her full power. Despite this, the weak-looking man in front of her was able to keep completely still when she was already punching with everything she got. Too slow, Nash said again and then started shaking the focus pad. Left, right, left, up. Nash moved the focus pad along with the position he called out. Bianca also immediately punched according to the position he was calling out. Nash started going faster. The speed at which he was moving his right hand with the focus pad also became faster and faster, and several of Bianca's punches missed the mark. Not fast enough, Nash called out again sternly and continued with the positionings. Bianca punched faster and faster. She was even using both hands now. But still, she could not catch up with how fast Nash was moving his right hand. He was too fast. Nash's right hand was moving so fast that she was seeing double. Only then did Bianca realize that Nash was no ordinary person and that he was a martial arts expert who was countless times stronger than Scotty. Don't look at me. Look at the focus pad. Nash punched Bianca on the head with his left hand. Bianca covered her head with both hands but was still pushed back by Nash. Scotty muttered under her breath, "That dog. He doesn't know how to appreciate women at all." Although Bianca was a boxer, she was still a virgin who had never even had a boyfriend. Hera rolled her eyes at Scotty. He's only training her temporarily. Of course, Nash has to increase the difficulty. Oh my, you're not even married yet. Why are you speaking up for him? Scotty then looked at Bianca with a distressed expression. You're not wrong, though. Bianca went back to her original position and continued punching the focus pad. Chapter 141. You're free to throw your punches now, but make me your target, Nash said. Bianca took 2 deep breaths before throwing her punches based on the various combinations Nash had taught her. Nash kept moving his right hand in different directions to defend himself. Whether they were feints or real, Nash managed to defend against them all perfectly. It was as if Nash was able to predict her moves. Bianca faked a left uppercut and then immediately moved to throw a hook at Nash's abdomen. Nash raised his hand to block the left uppercut and then protected his abdomen with his right hand in the next second. This was not the speed at which ordinary people could move. Bianca could not help feeling a little discouraged. She did not dare complain, however, and at the same time, she was able to see through Nash's understanding of boxing. She even believed that Nash was McNash now. He was the father of the king of fighters who became a legend in the boxing world without even fighting a match. When Nash saw that Bianca was no longer throwing her punches, he asked in a frivolous tone that carried with it disdain, "Are you giving up?" Bianca lowered her head as she panted heavily but did not reply. She just stood there like she was an unruly student being scolded by her teacher. "Bianca, have you forgotten why you wanted to learn boxing?" Scotty walked over angrily as a chill appeared in her almond eyes. Bianca trembled slightly. How could she forget? Her father was an excellent boxer who once dominated the boxing world. It was rare that he ever found a worthy opponent. When she was 6, his father was drugged during a match and was beaten to death by a boxer in Capitan in the end. She remembered her father's last words before he went for the match. "My good daughter, there's a prize of 3 million for this competition. Once, my wish was to win the golden belt, but ever since I had you and your mother, I decided to give up on that thought. I only want to make money now so that you two can live a good life. My precious daughter, you'll need a dowry when you're to get married in the future, no? Once I'm done with this match, I'll wash my hands of this life and stay at home to be with you and your mother." Her father, who dominated the boxing world, had always worn an amiable smile on his face for her and her mother. She did not think that would be the last words he shared with her. A forensic doctor later detected a hallucinogenic drug in her father's blood after his body was brought back. After hiring some private detectives to conduct a private investigation, It was found that the mineral water that her father drank during the intermission was laced with an anesthetic that caused weakness in individuals. Her father had admitted defeat in the ring, yet his opponent still beat him to death. Ever since then, she picked up her father's gloves and took up boxing without telling her mother. She wanted to avenge her father. She was going to take part in the championship and win that golden belt. Yet, she could not even win the Phoenix crown right now, let alone the golden belt. Bianca raised her head slowly, followed by her fists as she got into stance. Nash glanced at the time and said, "There's still 10 minutes left. You have 5 minutes, the remaining will be for rest." After saying that, Nash took off the focus pads and put on a pair of boxing gloves. Now comes actual fight training. There's offense and defense. Strike when you find an opening and learn to create opportunities if you don't have any. Bianca took the lead and threw the first punch. Nash protected his head with both fists. He only defended himself and did not strike back. Left hook, right hook, straight punch, swing punch, jab. Bianca's punches were several times faster and harder than before. A gratified smile formed on the corners of Nash's mouth. She was not as explosive as Mike, however, since she was a woman after all. Black Widow was also far from being a worthy opponent to Mike. In 5 minutes, Bianca threw more than 2,500 punches, averaging out to more than 500 punches per minute. Time. Take a 5-minute break. Nash stepped forward to help Bianca take off her gloves. Bianca was so tired that she was out of breath and dropped herself into a chair while panting heavily. Scotty quickly used both hands to fend Bianca and help her cool down. Hera also unscrewed a bottle of water and passed it to her. "Bianca, you must work hard. We'll always support you." Bianca took a few sips of water and looked at the three of them, her eyes turning red. "Thank you." She could feel that her boxing skills had improved by leaps and bounds compared to before. Bianca looked up at Nash and asked, "Are you McNash?" Chapter 142. Nash hung Coach Grant's coaching ID around his neck and answered calmly, "You can call me out if I'm fake." His admission to being McNash boosted Blanca's confidence. What was more was that he was actually the real McNash. Nash then used some massage techniques to help relieve the soreness in Bianca's muscles as well as her fatigue. In Black Widow's lounge, Duncan was sitting cross-legged on a chair when he said lightly, "Mr. Kai wants to see Bianca on the ground permanently the next round." A smile broke out on the foreign coach's face. "We can rest assured with his instruction." Black Widow had inherited the Dark Lord's reputation and fighting power. She had not lost a single battle over 4 years. As Black Widow's full-time sparring partner, he also did not want to see the future King of Fighters die halfway. He believed that Black Widow would replace Mike Thorson within 5 years and become the strongest King of Fighters. The 30-minute break came to an end, and the boxers from both sides rushed to the ring. Duncan returned to the VIP seats on the second floor. Kai had Helena in his arms as the two snuggled and kissed each other passionately. Seeing that Simon was also present, Duncan walked over to him and took a seat without hesitation. Simon sipped the red wine and asked with a smile, "How did it go? Did Black Widow agree?" Duncan smiled slightly. "If it wasn't for us, the Black Widow would have defeated Bianca during the first round. Is there any reason for her not to agree?" Simon laughed. He held up his wine glass and answered, "Then allow me to congratulate both of you in advance." Duncan picked up his wine glass and clinked it with Simon's before downing the content. Simon had not intended to do business with Duncan. Duncan also did not want to deal with Simon at first, yet he had the Green Bamboo Association behind him. One of Duncan's bodyguards stepped forward and said, "Mr. Duncan, we received a message from Mandagor informing us that the matter is settled." Duncan nodded. "Were there any responses from the users?" The bodyguard replied, "The number of new registrations on the website exceeded 300,000. The top-up amount also increased by 20 billion. Kai ceased his make-out session when he heard this. Smiling heartily, Duncan exclaimed, "Humanity's greed is endless." In the women's competition, the Phoenix Crown would continue to be given to Black Widow, but the game was not over. Black Widow would be fighting the Tiger Crown holder immediately. As the public knew, The Tiger Crown holder for this year was a super heavyweight boxer in the 180 kilograms class. Black Widow was only 55 kilograms, a lightweight boxer. One could imagine the result of a fight between a super heavyweight boxer and a lightweight boxer. It was an extremely unfair matchup. The bettors, of course, did not care for fairness. They would only think it a charity effort by the betting company. In the Phoenix Crown Championship, bettors would win $42 million at a 1:1 ratio. In the Tiger vs. Phoenix Championship, the amount they bet would be doubled. Once the competition is over, go through the prize redemption immediately and start a new round of betting within half an hour. Make the betting time only half an hour, Kai instructed. After all, they had to pay out $42 million, so to avoid any potential trouble, they had to recover their funds quickly. As Nash walked out of the restroom, he happened to pass by Kai and the others downstairs. He accidentally overheard their conversation. It indeed seemed like there were capitalists manipulating every underground boxing community. Nash took out his phone and searched the official website for Dragon Might Boxing Center. On it, the match between Black Widow and Bianca was being broadcast live, and registered users could vote for their favorite boxers below. If the boxers they supported win, the supporters would get double the support votes. The exchange rate for Black Widow's support tickets was 1:1, while for Bianca, it was 1:2. At this time, Black Widow's support votes had reached 30.8 billion. Needless to say, these votes of support would all be exchanged for money. Considering this, the Watsons would definitely let Bianca win this match, as only with her victory of the Phoenix Crown would they earn $42 million. Only an idiot would opt not to earn this money. Nash clicked on Bianca's profile and voted for her before jumping to another third-party website. He registered an account for himself and immediately exchanged all of his belongings that were worth $400 million into support votes for Bianca. At this moment, news of the Tiger and Phoenix Championship popped up on the page. Tiger Crown Mammoth vs. Phoenix Crown Black Widow. What was this? Nash was a little confused. Chapter 143. There would be another match between Mammoth of the Tiger Crown and Black Widow of the Phoenix Crown later. The Watsons would first throw away $46 billion before manipulating and profiting heavily from a large number of unsuspecting investors. In just 3 minutes, the number of votes for Tiger Crown reached 1 billion. The corners of Nash's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. If he had not come here today, the Watsons would have earned tens of billions today, and many families would have been ruined. As his master had said, one could be a saint by accumulating virtue, doing good, and taking pleasure in helping others. He shall be a saint today then. Nash put away his phone and went to the area. Black Widow made a neck-slashing gesture directly at Bianca. Nash walked up to the ring and said, "Bianca, be careful. Black Widow may try to kill you." Bianca nodded fearlessly with her mouth guard in place before walking toward the middle of the ring. The battle was imminent. Without putting up any defense, Black Widow began with a barrage of fierce and relentless attacks, akin to a raging storm. Bianca covered her head with both hands, dodging left and right, but still, she was forced back under the relentless attacks. Hera and Scotty were holding hands as they looked on nervously. Nash opened his eyes wide as he tried locating Black Widow's weaknesses. Yet, as she was the daughter of the Dark Lord, there was almost no weakness he could pick up on. Scotty was so anxious that she almost cried. Bianca still can't win. What do we do? Hera was also too nervous. We have to trust Bianca. She'll definitely make it. She will. Bianca's hands and arms were burning with pain. She recalled what Nash said before. Seize the opportunity and strike a thunderous blow. If there is no opportunity, then make one. Make opportunities. It was necessary for her to create an opportunity to fight back. Just when Black Widow was trying to catch her with an uppercut, Bianca's reaction slowed. Bianca got punched in the left cheek and instantly felt her head spin. Many young fans at the scene exclaimed in surprise. Hera threw herself into Scotty's arms. She could not bear looking at Bianca's sorry state directly. Bianca was dazed, and the corner of Black Widow's mouth tugged into a smile. She punched Bianca in the face again. Bianca's mouth and nose were bleeding. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches. Bianca was forced to the edge of the ring. The match would be over the moment she was knocked out of the ring. Black Widow did not want to end the game directly, but she also needed to obey Kai's orders so that Bianca could not get up again. She delivered a hook to the back of Bianca's neck and then pulled her back into the middle of the ring. Bianca staggered and almost fell down. Black Widow gathered strength for a powerful punch aimed at Bianca's temple. At this moment, the right side of Black Widow's chest was in a relaxed defensive state. An opportunity presented itself. Nose bruised and eyes swollen, Bianca grinned. Black Widow felt a sense of dread in her when she saw the grin. Bianca delivered a straight punch at lightning speed. Black Widow moved her left hand laterally but failed to defend herself from it. Bianca hit Black Widow in the chest with a straight punch from her left fist and was a little dazed. She, the three-time Phoenix Crown holder and the 2021 Women's Boxing World Championship gold belt holder, had actually been hit? Nash's eyes flashed, and he quickly shouted, "Finish her off when she's down." Chapter 144. Practically the moment Fred yelled, Bianca landed a right hook on Black Widow's face. She then followed up with a combination of punches that caught Black Widow by surprise. The referee circled the two of them closely with a whistle in his mouth. He would blow the whistle immediately the moment either one of them violated the rules. Bianca delivered nearly 500 punches in a minute, and Black Widow managed to block 495 of them. Black Widow was bleeding from her mouth and nose after receiving 5 punches to her head. Her nose was bruised, and her eyes were swollen. Bianca punched her in the waist again. She started with 3 left hook feints before following them up with 2 right hook feints. Black Widow defended with all her might against all 5 of those attacks. While the attacking party could use feints, the defending party would still have to treat the feints as if they were real, as they would never know if they might turn out to be real attacks. Black Widow managed to get a hang of the situation, but at the same time, she was aghast. The speed of Bianca's punches had drastically increased, and the power behind them was also greater than before. Also, why did this punching combination look so familiar? Bianca had completely overcome her fear of the Black Widow. After the 5 feints, she followed up with a sequence of 4 punches. Although she only landed 1 hit, she already caught up to half of the score. 3 minutes was now up, and the 4th round was over. The fighters from both sides went to the sides of the ring to rest. One of Bianca's eyes was swollen and narrowed. She leaned against the ropes while Nash, Hera, and Scotty quickly tried to cool her down. Hera fed her water while Scotty and Nash both placed their hands on her. With Nash massaging her, the injured muscles in both of Bianca's arms were healing rapidly. Scotty wiped the blood from Bianca's eyes with a tissue and asked warmly, "Can you still see?" Bianca nodded. Nash covered Bianca's eyes with his hands and massaged them. As he did this, he said, "You did well this round. Black Widow will be more cautious in the next round. Stop going on the defensive, aim to even out the score." This was the fighting style he had taught Mike. The best defense was to attack one's opponent constantly and give them no opportunity to strike back. If they could not throw a punch, what was there to defend against? It was precisely because of this that Mike was dubbed a beast and a mad bull by the boxing world. After the 3-minute break, Bianca stood up and walked toward the ring. Her eye was a little less swollen now, and she felt no pain at all. Although her arms were still red, she did not feel the sting of muscle tears. To have a coach like Nash was simply cheating. She believed even more now that Nash was McNash, the father of the King of Fighters. The whistle went off, and Bianca immediately threw a left hook followed by a straight punch with her right. Black Widow quickly put her arms together to protect her chest and head. What was going on? Was this woman crazy? She was not defending at all. How was she not defending herself when she was up against the golden belt winner of the World Boxing Championship? Bianca went through 3 sets of combination punches consecutively that Black Widow did not even have the chance to strike. Damn, why is Bianca so fierce all of a sudden? Shit! Is she possessed by Mike? Could Black Widow be throwing the match? You ignorant idiot. Don't you see how Bianca's fists are even creating after images now? What chance does Black Widow have to strike when she's moving that fast? You guys know nothing. Black Widow is just waiting for Bianca to exhaust herself. Ah, Go, Bianca, go! Bianca, you're doing awesome. The audience members on the first floor were whispering to one another and having lively discussions. On the second floor, Kai frowned. What happened to Black Widow? Common sense stated that Black Widow should be able to knock Bianca out in the fourth round, yet Bianca had now caught up to half of her score. It was the fifth match now, and Black Widow did not even have the chance to strike back. Helena's eyes narrowed as she asked, "Didn't you realize that Bianca has changed coaches?" Kai and the others discovered then that Nash had become Bianca's coach at some point. Duncan was dumbfounded. "He even knows boxing?" Simon nodded and replied, "I'm afraid he doesn't only know boxing, he's also a master of it." Chapter 145. Go and tell Black Widow that if she fails to take down Bianca, I won't let her go back to Freldon. Duncan laughed and said, "Kai, take it easy. If Bianca wins the Phoenix Crown, we'll get 46 billion. Kai frowned and replied, "What about the Tiger versus Phoenix Championship? How are we going to proceed without the Black Widow? Won't we still have Bianca? If Bianca wins the final championship, it might cause trouble for the young lady." Duncan looked at Helena calmly. "What are you saying, Mr. Duncan? Do you think I'm stupid?" Helena shot Duncan a blank look. Of course, she would not let Kai give up so much money for her own feelings. In the ring, Bianca's punches were getting harder and harder, and Black Widow was becoming more and more panicked as this fierce style of boxing reminded her of someone, her father's old enemy Mike Thorson. These were his tactics, especially the previous sets of combination punches. Black Widow's pupils constricted violently as she felt a deep fear of Bianca shoot through her heart. Bianca rammed a straight punch toward Black Widow and broke through her defense with tremendous power. Black Widow staggered backward while Bianca strode forward and executed another 3 sets of combination punches one after another. The scores leveled out very quickly to display 42-42. Black Widow was defenseless. Bianca finally charged her fist and punched Black Widow in the face. Black Widow immediately flipped out of the ring and landed on the ground motionlessly. Bianca had also exhausted all her strength as she slumped down in the middle of the ring panting. At this moment, the audience was silent. The referee was also stunned. 30 seconds later, he came back to his senses. He stepped forward and grabbed Bianca's hand, raising it up high as he blew the whistle. She won. Bianca won. Scotty was trembling with excitement. Hera was also so excited that she was tearing up. The two rushed to the ring and hugged Bianca tightly. Seeing this scene, Bianca's fans also kept screaming. The host held up the microphone and said, "We've witnessed something unpredictable on stage. I wouldn't have believed that Black Widow would be defeated by Bianca if I hadn't seen it with my own 2 eyes. Today's final match is definitely the most exciting one in the 3 years I've hosted the Phoenix Crown. I also believe boxing fans from all over the world will find that this trip has been worthwhile. Alright, enough with all the talk. Let's invite the young owner of Dragon Might Boxing Center, Mr. Kai Watson, who's also the heir to Johnford's wealthiest family, with the warmest applause to present the championship award." Thunderous applause broke out at the scene. Kai's expression was extremely dark at this moment. Just a second ago, the entertainment company from Mandagore had withdrawn $46 billion. The 2 authenticated users who withdrew their money were Nash and Theo. Nash looked at his account information on his phone that indicated more than 12 billion with a happy expression on his face. Theo, who was far away in Capitan, was overjoyed to have earned more than 40 billion a day, which was equivalent to his family's annual net profit when they were at the peak. It was a pity that Nash had stipulated that the money must be donated to the poor mountainous regions in the name of charity. "Mr. Theo, donate 46 billion to the impoverished mountainous area from my personal account in Nash's name immediately. And I mean immediately. 46 billion. Using your account, sir, in Nash's name." His secretary's face turned green with fright. "Is there a problem?" Theo lit a cigar and took a puff. The profit of 40 billion this time was to be used for charitable projects. Moreover, he was also personally donating 6 billion himself. Although he was losing money, it was just a small amount for him. "Right away, sir."